Hi guys, Jason here from Robolinho Australia. Today we're going to do a quick unboxing of the Robolinho 700E model. These guys are distributed by Masport, so if you're looking for a trusted brand out there at the moment, then you pretty much can't go wrong with these guys. These particular guys are designed in Germany and they're made in Austria, so if you're after that sort of German quality, then these guys really are right up there. So let's quickly unbox it, show you what's in the box, and then I'll run you through a couple of things that I've found over the last 2 weeks while I've been testing this model, and then further on from that we'll show you a few things in our next video in regards to setting it up on our test track and also testing it mowing lawns. So let's get into it. The box itself quite big, well presented on the outside obviously. It's got a nice design on the outside of the box. It's about 19 kilos the whole box, so it's quite large, quite heavy. Inside the box, they're not entirely packaged the absolute best, mostly because of the extra parts that are in here that just don't really have a spot, but in all, they're packaged quite well. Well, certainly not going to damage the machine during transit. But if I try and lift that up a little bit for you, I should show you how they're actually packaged. So along those lines is how to. So the only thing that's in there that's actually stopping the mower from moving around is this bit of cardboard here. Which pushes down in the front of the mower. So the mower itself and the charging station holding it nice and firm. Not a problem at all. Okay, so first out of the box, power supply. It's a 1.5 amp power supply. The machine's a 20 volt machine, so that's a 20 volt 1.5 amp supply, and it's all fully waterproof and obviously Australian compliant. It holds the RCM logo on there. So there's a 1.5 amp charger on it at 20 volts. Next out is the perimeter wire that comes with the machine. So it comes with 100 meters of perimeter wire. It comes in one of these boxes. It's actually quite handy when you're actually installing. It's quite easy. You pop the top off that box there and the coil's out from the center. So the wire does twist as you're pulling it along, but it doesn't really seem to matter much as long as you work in small lengths at a time. So a good little package, works quite well, makes it very easy for installation. Ground pegs. There's a bag of ground pegs in there. I haven't actually counted these, and it doesn't say on the box what actually comes with the machine, but I believe there's 90. The aftermarket bags of these are 90. I believe there's 90 ground pegs in the bag, and the pegs themselves are much the same quality as all the other pegs that we sell. Nylon plastic peg. Okay, take this over the top here. Next out of the box here is just a little accessories case here. So you've got the ground screws, and there's actually a spanner there, like a spark plug spanner inside the packet there for putting the ground screws in, which is really quite good. A couple of screws and covers in there. The manual is just a paper copy manual. The first part is in Dutch, and then it goes on to English after that, so it goes into British basically, so English. And look, the instructions here are quite good. It's actually very detailed, as you'd probably expect from Germans. It's a very detailed instruction, and it's very step by step, push this button, push that button sort of instruction, so it really is quite good. And it looks a bit intimidating when you look in the manual, but it really is quite good step by step instructions. So the manual's really quite good. Okay, get the machine out. We'll come back to the machine. So underneath packaging there, you can see the mower was actually sitting inside a cardboard base plate. So the mower itself cannot move around inside the box when it's being shipped, which is good. It's a quality insurance, and there's also a very little quick start guide there on how far away to put the wire from the boundary. Okay. charge station. Down. And you have the charge station. Just close this box up and get it out of the way. There's nothing else left in there. Okay. So the charge station, it's a really good design actually, it really is. It's sort of a similar type of design as the works machines with the drive-in, drive-out motion. These guys come in from the opposite direction, so these guys always travel clockwise when returning home. The connection points for the base station are not in the tower, they're actually down here in the side here. You pop this little cover off here and the connection point is just there for your boundary wire. So the wire itself connecting through the base station and into the tower is actually already installed, so you really can't get that wrong at all. So it really is quite quick and easy. Put it down, connect your wire up to where it's got to go, and away it goes. The drive-in, drive-out scenario, again, I much prefer this scenario than all the others because it basically allows the machine to dock flawlessly pretty much every time without fail. But this machine comes in, there's two little contacts there on the side of the machine. It drives in, make contact with the two connection points, and that's it. It just sits there. It's a really well designed base station and docking station. How it actually docks. Okay. Now that docking station also has a quick release on there where you can take two screws out and remove the tower quickly. It's designed for obviously European climates and cold climates where it freezes over, so you can take this assembly inside. Really no need for that in Australia. The only thing you really need in Australia essentially is going to be a cover over the top because our harsh sun is going to destroy any of the robot mowers over a 5 or a 10 year period. Okay, so the base station, not much else on there. You can see there's actually a couple little divots in the base station there. It's actually where the back wheels actually sit, so the machine really does dock and sits in exactly the same spot every time. There's 5 locations here for the ground screws to go down to actually fix the base station to the ground. And except for the ground screws are in here, and there's also a tool for installing the ground screws. So the base station, really quite good. The cable coming out of the base station, about 8 metres long on the low voltage power supply, low voltage cable, and then that just plugs straight into the back of into the side of the transformer, and then about another metre on the end of the transformer going into the power point. So like most of the other models, you've got between sort of 8 and 10 metres of distance between your power point and the charge station. And these charge stations need to be positioned either on the lawn or parallel with the lawn somehow, so the mower can actually come in from one side and drive continue through and out the other side. You can't have them sitting in so the mower drives in one way and then reverses out. These guys won't do that. They'll have to be driving from one side and out the other. Okay, the mower. Okay. So the first thing you sort of come across when you open these guys up is that they've got this sticker on the front here which they call a puck code. So each unit is actually pre-set with a 4-digit pin code on the machine. So if you don't have this pin code, you really can't set the machine up whatsoever. Just an extra little safety feature in regards to units being stolen. So quick guide on the top there goes through all of the quick scenarios of how to install the perimeter wire, what distance to install the perimeter wire from. And these guys are quite different to most of the other units because the actual distance for the wire to a hard edge, so from the mower to an edge that the machine's actually going to hit, like a fence or a raised garden edge or something like that, is actually 20 centimetres, so it's very narrow. And at 20 centimetres, you'll see in another video after this one, it actually gets quite close to the edge, and the mower itself travels very close to the edge of your lawn, and gets as close as it possibly can. So apart from that, the wire installation is all very similar to anything else. All these robot mowers have much the same principle. You install the wire around your perimeter, and if you've got an internal obstruction that you want to cordon off with a wire, you bring the wire out, go around the obstacle and go back down the same spot, and the mower will ignore the section where the two wires are. But apart from that, it's much the same as all the other mowers. It's just the distances, so 20 centimetres out for a hard edge, and you can actually have on a soft edge, like a pathed edge, the actual wire you can install exactly on between the between the transition from the grass to the concrete, you can actually install it right on that edge or up to 5 centimetres away, and the mower will still cut the grass all the way to the edge. Construction of these guys, pretty good, honestly. Obviously, again, you'd expect it being German designed, Austrian built. The machine itself is quite solid. There's no handle on the machine to pick it up, so you actually are forced to pick it up with 2 hands, front and back and up. The machine itself weighs about 9 kilos, I think it's 9.4 I believe. The wheels on these guys are really good as well. They're only quite small wheels, they're only 20 centimetres or 200mm wheels, but they're a hard rubber. On the grass surfaces they do get a lot of traction, they really are quite good. And it's also a 4-wheel design, so you've got 2 front wheels. The front wheels are 90mm, so again they're quite large front wheels, so they won't get caught in small holes. So all in all, the wheels on these guys are actually really good, and they get good traction, and they don't particularly get easily caught in small spots. The blade construction on these guys, 22cm blade width from blade to blade. They are a razor blade type scenario, but they are not centrifugal like many other brands. These guys have actually got fixed blades, so they actually don't move, they don't twist. They are reversible, so you can take them out, turn them around. The machine itself operates in both directions, so one time it'll spin clockwise, and the next time it starts it'll spin anti-clockwise to wear down both sides of the blades at the same time, just to save you having to change your blades out. The cutting deck raises up and down manually. It's manually through a dial. So the dial there raises the blades up and down as it goes along. Now that is a very firm dial, and when you turn it, there's actually a display. The little bubble in the display there actually tells you what the height is. That's 55mm. It goes down to 25mm. So that's the cutting height, 25mm to 55mm. And like I say, it actually tells you on the screen there exactly what height you're going. Every 5mm it has a notch and written numbers there to say 45mm. So again, the cutting height adjustment, firm, rigid. It doesn't sort of move at all by itself. It seems to be very good quality. Emergency stop on the top, which is obviously accessible when the cover's closed. That emergency stop, generally with this machine, whenever there's a fault or you physically hit the emergency stop button, that fault needs to be cleared on the machine before you can get it going again. And with these machines you have to enter the PIN code each time you want to reset the machine. So safe, yes. Annoying, yes, a little bit as well. So you tend to find that when you're setting it up and running the machine that you are putting that code in quite a few times. It is just a 4-digit code, so it is quite simple and easy to put in. When you fire up the machine, I was mentioning that code before, the 4-digit pin, the machine asks you to change that as soon as you turn it on. So you change that to the 4-digit pin that you choose. Okay, the controls and displays. So on the machine, there's basically a 8 button control panel. The LCD screen on there, again, it's very intuitive. It's actually quite good, very easy to navigate through the menu. So setting it up really is a breeze. The only thing you have to get used to is the 2 buttons down the bottom here, where the screen actually nominates on the bottom of the screen which button is confirm or move on to the next step, whatever it might be. But the software walks you through that as you go through. So it really is a very intuitive screen, very simple to use. And starting and stopping the mower manually, very simple. You press the start button and away it goes. So it's very easy to use. One thing worth noting is the rain sensor that's in here. So there's a rain sensor just here. Now this rain sensor is not necessarily the same as other rain sensors. Most of the rain sensors, in fact all the rain sensors on the other models, are just pure and simply a resistance sensor where moisture gets across the 2 metal probes, senses the resistance, and it digitally turns it off and says it's wet, I can't go out and mow. These guys have actually got a resistance reading for how wet it is. So they take it one little step further in regards to the rain sensor. It's a very good rain sensor, so if it only gets a little bit wet, the mower generally won't go home and stay home. but if it gets really wet, it will. So it's just one extra step sort of towards having a little bit smarter system when it comes to rain. Okay, a few specs on the guys for you. So the machines themselves rated at 700 square metres. As always, we always recommend that you generally don't exceed about 70% of the mower's capacity, even on a nice flat square surface. And if you've got obstacles, narrow pathways, multiple zones, then you really do need to look at derating the square meterage of these machines. So if you've got quite a few obstacles around the place and narrow pathways, really the max you're going to get out of a machine like this is going to be more like 500 square metres. So just essentially, when it comes to looking at your square meterage and choosing your mowers, give us a call if you like, and we can help you walk through exactly which mowers will get what capability out of, or what coverage you'll get out of each mower. But certainly in a fairly open area, 700 square metres for this guy, not a problem at all. He travels at about 25 metres per minute, which is about the same, a little bit faster than the Works models, certainly slower than the Ambrosios, slower than the Lawmers, but at a reasonable pace that really gets the job done in a reasonable time frame. My 100 square metre backyard that I have mowed with one of these, it took about an hour and a half to 2 hours to mostly cover that area. To fully cover it 100%, it took about 2.5 hours. The battery in these guys, I think I mentioned before, is a 20 volt battery. It's 2.25 amp hour. Just to get specific, and that's not a 2.2, it's a 2.25. And the run time on this guy is about an hour, so up to 1 hour, and the charge time is the same, up to 1 hour as well. So it'll charge for an hour, run for an hour, charge for an hour, run for an hour if you're mowing a large area. The slopes on this guy, so he's rated up to 45%, which is the same as the Works models, same as a lot of other machines. Testing this guy out, it's about right. So at about 45% is where he starts to lose a little bit of traction. And on the slopes, and they don't mention this in any of the literature about their slope angle, but about 25 to 30% is the maximum slope you can achieve on the boundary wire. So if this guy's actually going downhill and approaching the boundary wire downhill, it needs to be down to about 25% gradient, so that the mower actually has enough traction to be able to reverse, turn and continue on. So something to be very mindful of is the slopes on your boundary wire. Don't necessarily just take the maximum slope that these things are rated at. It will happily travel up and down the maximum slope, but stopping and turning is a completely different story. Cutting motors, and all motors for that matter, so all the motors, this one as you'd expect, are all brushless. They are very, very quiet. This machine is rated at less than 60 decibels. I've taken a decibel reading on it while it was actually mowing grass, and it was still less than 60. On our test track, I'll do a decibel reading on this shortly, and we'll see what noise it actually makes when it's not cutting grass. I suspect it's going to be about 45 or 50. It is very, very quiet, a very quiet machine. As I said, 22 centimetre blade width or cutting width, and the blade heights at 2.5 to 5.5 centimetres. The multi-zones on these guys, so you can program up to 3 zones on these guys, and the first zone is not configurable. So the first zone is always directly off the base station, which is usually not a problem, but in some circumstances it can cause issues. So essentially 3 zones, and again they're very easy to configure. We'll run you through that on a test track in the next video. GPS tracking, no. So there's no GPS tracking in these machines. There's no connectivity in these machines. So this machine is the 700E. There is a 700W, I believe it is. Yeah, 700W, which is a Wi-Fi unit, but it's not available in Australia at the moment. Hopefully it will in the future, but at the moment we only have the 700E in this range. And there's no configuration or no connectivity at all. Everything is programmed through the display, which is very good and very easy, but there's no connectivity back to a mobile device or an app or Alexa or any of those things at the moment. There is the possibility of connectivity of these guys back to a proprietary home automation system. I haven't looked into that at the moment. I'll have a closer look exactly whether that can be achieved in Australia. It's a type of system that's not readily available here in Australia, but there is connectivity of this guy back into a proprietary home automation app, but I don't think that's going to work for Australia. These guys operate only in a straight configuration, so they'll always go straight, and they'll do their algorithm to make sure that they cover all the areas. What these guys do, and it was impressive to see, is that as soon as there's thick grass or longer grass and there's more strain on the cutting motor, the mower will slow down, the cutting motor will increase its RPM, so it'll travel faster, and the mower will slow down to about half speed and just creep through the tough spot and get the grass cut and continue on. It actually was very impressive to watch, and you'll see that in our test video, in our next test video when it's cutting the grass. And yeah, it really is a well-refined machine when it comes to its navigation, getting around the lawn, not getting stuck on any obstacles, and getting through really thick, really heavy grass. It was really good, in fact better than pretty much any other model I've seen. Your standard safety features on him, as most all these machines have to have. You can't really have one without one, but you have the large emergency stop on the top. You have a bump sensor, so if it actually bumps into you, this guy only just barely touches you and goes back the other way, so he's very gentle. So if you have small pets and things like that, this guy's actually going to be very gentle on things like that. The lift sensor, so if you lift the mower up, as soon as you lift it up, the cutting blades stop almost instantaneously, so they stop very quickly, these guys. And lastly, the weather rating on these guys, or the waterproof rating on these guys, it's not specified anywhere. Now they are waterproof, they always are. I would suggest this is at least IP44, which is what I've got on our website now. The machine from the top is really completely weatherproof. Underneath, it's very good. It's got a really good seal around the outside body. Everything really has a really good seal around. Even there's a port here. That yellow port there, that's actually a USB port for the service configuration, so we can service the machines. Even that, it's got a very good seal around it. Everything appears to be very good. It really is well built machine. Okay, so the only other thing I want to cover with you guys just quickly is accessories after the fact. Elco and Masport, they put out the range of accessories that are required for the machine. You can get a little repair kit, which is there's six joiners and a small piece of wire needed for touching up the wire. You can get the aftermarket, the genuine, but after sales pegs, so there's 90 pegs in a bag. If you need more pegs. There is 150 metre coils of wire, which are in the same coil, but there's 150 metres rather than 100 that comes with the machine. And a neat little thing in there is that it actually comes with one joiner, actually inside that kit as well, which is great. There's also heavy duty wire, so they call it armoured wire, but it's not actually armoured wire, it's just a very heavy duty wire in 300 metre rolls if you've got a large installation to do. With a mower that's only rated at 700 square metres, there's a very good chance you shouldn't need this, but it is available if need be. And also down the front here, you probably can't quite see, but I'll show it in the next video, is the rain cover and the sun cover that you can buy to go over. And again, it comes down the side, much like the Works models again. It comes down both sides and it curves over the top, and it's hingeable, so you can hinge the lid up and down. So I'll set that up and let you know what that's like in the next video. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys. As always, get in contact with us any way you can. You can jump on our website at www.robotlawnmowers.com.au. You can find us on Facebook, just search for Robot Lawnmowers Australia. You can email us on sales@robotlawnmowers.com.au. So as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.